Hi, I'm Andrea and welcome to Productive C#. In this video, I'm going to talk about nullable reference types in C#8 and how you can enable this feature. This is a console application targeting .NET Core 3, and I have enabled C#8 in this application using the lang version tag. By default, C#8 nullable reference type feature is disabled. So this means that, as you know, all reference types in C# are nullable. So you can create a string, for example, and assign null to it, and there are no problems in terms of, from the compiler point of view. Okay? Of course, at runtime, you can get the nasty null reference exceptions if you try to dereference these reference types when it's null. And Microsoft introduced the nullable reference types feature in order to provide a lot more support to the developers in avoiding these sort of problems. Okay, let me see how you can enable this feature for the entire project. You go to the CS project file, you use the nullable tag, and you set it to enable. When you do that, all the C# project inside this project change in terms of semantics. So the compiler works differently and provides you a lot more warnings when something is not right. So let me explain you what I mean. As soon as you enable this feature, all reference types becomes non-nullable by default. So the compiler will not be happy if you try to assign null to a non-nullable reference types, and it will detect all the places in the code when this is possible. Okay? And that's where the value is, because the compiler is helping you to spot problems in your code. Okay, so for example, on the right hand side there is a product class and there is a name and category property. If I go on top of the property, you will see that non-nullable property name is not initialized. In fact, when you create a product instance, name and category will be null by default. And the compiler detects that and tells you that's not good, because strings is non-nullable by default when this feature is enabled. Okay, so the compiler tells you about that. In addition to that, it's also telling you the category here, the variable, could be null. In fact, if you see the statement above, it's possible that if the name doesn't start with hell, the category will be set to null. So the compiler does flow analysis in your code to understand if some variables that are supposed to be non-nullable could be null, and the compiler will help you to give you a warning. And here again it will tell you category also could be null, so be careful. So in this small little example, I enable the features and I've got 4 warnings telling me more information about my code. C#8 and this feature helps you as a developer to think more carefully about nullability in your code base, and eventually it could help you to fix bugs. Each of these warnings could potentially be hiding a bug, a real bug in your application that you didn't know about until now. Okay, so it's obviously very important when you enable these features to go through all the warnings and trying to fix them. Okay, I'm not going to do that now. We'll do it in a separate videos how you can actually fix the various warnings, but the key idea is that you should put some code around or change the code so that the warnings won't appear and nullable exception will not happen. Okay, adding some guards in place. There is a very important thing I want to mention about this feature is that at runtime the code doesn't change. So enabling this feature only changes how the compiler works, how the compiler understand your code. Enabling this feature makes all reference type non-nullable for a compiler point of view, and the compiler will give you warnings to support you However, at runtime, all reference types are still nullable, and there is no concept of non-nullable reference types in the runtime, in the .NET runtime. So don't need to worry about changing the behavior of your code by enabling this feature. So if you enable this feature, you keep all the warnings and you run your code, nothing has changed. Down in the IL, this generated when the compiler compile, there is a small change that is simply adding metadata to the code so that the compiler can know about nullability. Other than that, nothing has changed. Only metadata are changed. Okay, so this is all I have for this particular video. I wanted to quickly describe you why nullable reference types have been added to the language and how you can enable nullable reference types in a project. In a different video, I'm going to show you how you can enable the feature more gradually and how you can actually enable different annotation contexts or warning contexts in your project, so that you can transition to using this feature for all your code in a gradual way. Okay, but this is really the basic. Setting nullable tag in your CS project automatically enable this feature in the entire project. You get a lot of warnings, fix them all, and hopefully make your code more solid and fix some bugs. That's it. Thank you very much for listening and watching.